Good morning, All Saints. It's Monday morning, February 28th. I am back from a week of relaxation and glad to be so. It's good to be back with everyone as we prepare ourselves for the beginning of Lent. Ash Wednesday is this week, and I remind you that we have a liturgy for Ash Wednesday at 6:30 on Wednesday evening at the church. It will be live streamed on Facebook. Before that, tomorrow evening, we will be joining our neighbors at St. Matthew Trinity Lutheran Church for some pancakes. Hope you can join us there at 6:30. And then on Sunday, it's the first Sunday in Lent, we will begin our liturgies with the Great Litany. But as all of you know, our hearts are turned towards the conflict, the war raging between Russia and Ukraine. Russia's aggression and invasion of Ukraine, I should say. It has been truly devastating to witness the pictures that have shown up everywhere over the past several days. And while there is an enormous amount of courage and fortitude being demonstrated by the Ukrainian people from their president, Vladimir Zelensky, on down, it is a horrific occasion, a horrific experience for these people, many thousands and thousands and thousands of whom have fled their homes. There have already been many deaths, and war always affects those who can't leave, those who are already poor, already struggling. And there's a great sense of helplessness right now as we prayerfully hope that talks that are scheduled might have some effect at ending this. Between that and other things that are going on in the world, I happened to catch a headline from the New York Times this morning that climate change is at a point where it's so critical that it may not be reversible, no matter what we do. And we've known that this is coming, and yet we have continued to insist on our cars and our conveniences and the production of livestock, which adds to climate change, and then deforestation, which trees are our greatest friends for pulling out the toxins from the air, and yet we have cleared forests around the globe. And it certainly can lead one to despair. And I spoke about this in my sermon yesterday, these feelings of helplessness. And I think it is a fortuitous thing that we begin the season of Lent this week, because it is a time for introspection. It's a time for prayer. It's a time for throwing ourselves on the mercy of God, recognizing that our human abilities are finite, and yet God's are infinite. And so while I don't have any set plan for my Lent, I do know that it will be spent a little bit more in prayer and a little bit more in doing the good in the soil in which I'm planted, which is one way of making a difference in this world, in addition to using my public voice to speak out against violence and against the violence of executive orders from governors who want to have parents turned in for child abuse because their children are transgender. All of this deserves our opposition, our vocal opposition, and our prayers for those who are harmed by these dreadful events that seem to be prevalent, particularly now. So one of the things that is being called for on Wednesday, on Ash Wednesday, is a global fast for Ukraine. Now, fasting is an ancient practice, spiritual practice. It's not simply to avoid eating. It is to avoid a meal, food for a day, whatever it is that you are able to do, as a way of focusing yourself, focusing yourself on how your hunger for God, for God's love and God's mercy, and also of being in solidarity with those who hunger. And so fasting is a spiritual practice that has a way of focusing your attention on the most important things, which for us, the food that keeps our bodies whole um, is also the bread of life, which keeps our spirits and our souls whole. So I commend that to you in whatever way you feel called to practice that on Wednesday, to spend some time in prayer, both for yourself and for our world, and pray God's mercy on this world because for humans, things may seem impossible, but as we have read in our sacred texts for with God, nothing is impossible. I offered yesterday as part of our prayers the prayer that the bishop of the Episcopal Convocation in Europe wrote for Ukraine and shared, and I would like to share that again with you now. I'm going to put it in the comments box, and I'll put it on the Facebook share as well. And I commend this prayer to you to pray today, tomorrow, Ash Wednesday, and for as long as this violence in Ukraine continues. God of timelessness, from chaos and disorder, you brought forth the beauty of creation. From the chaos of war and violence, bring forth the beauty of peace. God of compassion, you saw the humanity of the outcast and the stranger. Help us to see the evils of our hatreds and suspicions and to turn them into the embrace of your beloved community. God of peace, through your love on the cross, you overcame the power of violence and death. Turn us away from the love of power, that we may transform a warring world through the power of your love. Amen. Well, my prayers and blessings, as always, are with you as you go about your week. This evening, there is a regional ministries meeting at 6. There is an e-blast coming out shortly with the Zoom information. We also have Zoom, not Zoom, we have Compline on Zoom at 7:30. And then there is no evening prayer on Wednesday. That will be a liturgy for Ash Wednesday in the church with Holy Eucharist and the imposition of ashes. And then I'll be back here on Thursday morning. Bless you all as you go about your day.